Hello, my second grade friends. I am so excited for you to be back with me again today for math lesson 114. Today we're going to be talking about right angles, and we'll get started here in just a minute, but make sure you have your guided class practice, page 114A, ready to work with me. So if you want to pause and get that paper ready and out, we're going to work it together as we finish up our lesson today. Well, let's review. Well, what is an angle to start with? And we have learned about angles. It is a shape formed by two lines from a common point. An easier way for us to remember is it's the corners, okay? So this is an angle, this is an angle, that's an angle, that's an angle, here's an angle, there's an angle, and our square, we know, has four angles. It's the corner points in a shape or in two lines. So let's take it a step further today and talk about what is a right angle. The simplest way I can remind you or to teach you this is that it's an angle that makes an L, like a giant L. But we have to remember that it can be turned in any direction, not just what we're normally seeing as a capital L, but it can be flipped and turned. We mark it by a small square in the corner. The big hint to take away is to think of the edges of a piece of paper, or if you watch the right angles video, like a picture frame. So I have marked on this sheet of paper the corners for you to see. Each of these corners is a right angle. I have also put a picture here at the bottom, and they are marked. All of these right angles are marked by the square. So this square is how we mark a right angle. How do I know this is a right angle? Well, it looks like a capital L. The next one, you see the square is marking the right angle, and it's like an upside down L. So take a look at each of these, because each of those angles that you see at the bottom are right angles, meaning it would be like an edge of a piece of paper, nice and straight. And we mark it with a very small square in the corner. So let's just see if we can select the two right angles on my page. What do you think about this one? Does it look like a giant L to you? Yes, we got that one correct. What about this one? I don't think this looks like a giant L or a capital L. As a matter of fact, if I were to put a piece of paper at the corner right here, I don't think that's a right angle. So I'm going to mark it off. That's not a right angle. What about this one? Right here. I think that's a little wider than the piece of paper, so I'm going to say no to that one as well. Oh, wow. That one is way too big. This one right here, I think that one's too small. Oh, let me look. That right there in the corner, my friends, looks like a right angle. I'll mark it with a square. Let me select. Oh, yeah, I got that one right. Good job. So let's look at these quadrilaterals that we have. We're going to kind of compare these two and put into practice thinking about our angles. Well, how many sides do you see on this rectangle? 4. How about over here on this quadrilateral, or parallelogram we like to call it? Well, if we still have 4 sides, even though they're kind of cattywampus. How about the number of vertices? That's a fancy mathematician word for corners. How many corners do we see on these shapes? I have 4 corners. What about over here? 4 corners if you count them all. How about angles? Well, we learned from a while back that how many ever corners we have is how many angles that we have. So we both of these shapes, again, have 4 angles because there are 4 corners. But let's talk about right angles, like the corner of a piece of paper. Well, that's a right angle, that's a right angle, that's a right angle, and that one's a right angle. So this one has 4 right angles. Every angle is a right angle. But let's look right here at this quadrilateral. Is that a right angle right there? No. These are angles, but they don't form that nice straight capital L even turned upside down. So there are no right angles on this one. How about parallel sides? Let's see if we can mark some parallel sides. Well, that side would be parallel with this side. And over here, that line and that line are parallel. But do you know that there are some others that are parallel? Yes. This line is parallel with this line, and that line is parallel with that line. Pretty cool, huh? So the pairs of parallel sides, there are 2 pairs on this shape, and there are 2 pairs. The blue lines are parallel to each other, and then the red lines are parallel. Excellent job, guys. Very good. So let's go ahead and get started, and let's work a little bit of our guided class practice. You can get your red math folder and draw that 8 centimeter line. And if you measure this next line, you will get 9 centimeters. And if you want to measure that by yourself a little later, you can. But let's look at number 1. There are 43 jump ropes and 12 balls for the children to use during recess. 15 children are using jump ropes. How many jump ropes are not being used? Well, right off, I know I don't need anything about the balls. We're not talking about the balls. They want to know about the jump ropes. So we have 43 and 15 children are using them. So am I going to add these to find out how many are not being used, or would I subtract these? If you said subtract, you are correct. So our number sentence would be 43, we'll just put R for ropes, minus 15 ropes equals, well, I'm going to come over here to my workspace because I just like a problem when it's written vertically. I'm going to start in my ones place, and in my ones place I have 3 minus 5. Well, I can't do that, so I'm going to borrow my tens. 4 becomes 3, bust it apart, add it to the ones I have, and now I have 13 ones. And I can subtract. 13 minus 5 equals 8. 3 minus 1 equals 2. So how many jump ropes were left? 28. Great job. Let you catch up a little bit if you need to, and make sure you have the correct answer. Number 2. This is a tally chart to show how many children chose each color. We are going to color the graph, or you can use your pencil to shade in the graph to show the colors the children chose. Very good. And yesterday we learned a little bit about bar graphs, and we know they can go vertically or horizontally, but it looks like today we'll be going up. We'll be building our bar graphs up from the bottom. So let's see, how many chose yellow? Well, this is tally marks, and I know those are groups of 5, so this is 5, 10. So I'm going to go ahead and just put me a line over here at 10, and then I can shade in to show that 10 people or children chose yellow. And yeah, mine is kind of messy. Look, working with this smart board, but you can make yours nice and neat. How many children chose purple? Well, let's look at our tally chart. That's 5, 6, 7. Well, I don't have 7 on my bar graph, but you remember from yesterday, skip counting by twos, where would 7 fall? It would fall between the 6 and the 8. It'd be about halfway between. So I'm going to draw a line right there to show 7 in between 6 and 8. And I'm going to shade in to the bottom. And pink. I have 5 tally marks. So, where is 5 going to fall? Well, yes, it's between 4 and 6 on my bar graph because it's using a scale of 2. So I'm going to draw my line and then shade it in. Great job, guys. I hope your bar graph looks a little neater than Miss Chisholm's on my smart board. Okay, guys, let's go ahead and move on. Oh, a mixed number. I see it because I have a whole number and a fraction. So it asks us to color or shade in 4 and 1/4 square. Well, I know my whole number is 4, so I need 4 whole squares shaded in. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then it wants me to divide this last square into the fractional part. How many total parts do I need? I need 4 total parts. That's the bottom number, remember, and then 1 of those shaded. That's the top part. Oh, it looks like we're going to be working with some angles. Number 4. Put a small square in each right angle of this shape. All right, well, let's look really quick, and I think that we can see that one is very obviously a right angle. That's just like an L. This one is just like a right angle. That one's a little, it's an angle, but it's not a right angle. So that also, right here and right here, those are angles, but they're way too wide. But let's look at this top one. It is a right angle because this is the L that it makes. Let me change my marker color so you can see. That right there is the L. It's just turned a little bit. So that is a right angle. So how many right angles are there? 3. It gives you the hint right here that you could use a corner of a piece of paper to check the angles. If you take a piece of paper and you put it into the corner, it should line itself up. And if it doesn't, then it's not a right angle. It also asks us to trace the parallel line segments using a red crayon. You can just use your pencil that you have. I'll mark mine red. Now, these lines cannot be right because they intersect right there, and we know that's not a parallel line. So the parallel lines on this shape are these 2 sides. Those are the parallel line segments. Very good. Number 5, what numbers would you use to estimate the sum of 23 and 65? Well, if I'm rounding the number 23, I know that I'm going to round down because it ends in a 3, so that would be 20. And 65, I have a 5 in the ones place, which means I'm going to round up to the nearest 10, and that would be 70. So you would use 20 and 70 if you wanted to find an estimate or a good guess of the answer, the sum, when you add those together. All right, here we go. Bottom of the page, number 6, find the answers. I got a bunch of numbers. I'm going to put some 10s together. I like working with tens. I see 3 plus 7 and 9 plus 1. That's 10, 20, and then my 2 left over would make a total of 22. 85 plus 35. Okay, I'm going to add. I'm going to start my ones place. 5 plus 5 is 10. Put the 0, carry 1. 1 plus 8 is 9. Plus 3 more, 10, 11, 12. My answer is 120. 94 minus 25. Oh, I'm subtracting, so I'm going to look at my ones. 4 minus 5. Well, 4 is smaller than 5, so I need to regroup. My 9 tens become 8. I bust it apart, add it to the 4 I had, and now I have 14 ones. 14 minus 5 equals 9 now. And now I can move to my tens. 8 minus 2 equals 6. 69. Last problem. We got this. 327 plus 485. Here we go in the ones place. 7 plus 5 equals 12. I put the 2, carry my 1. 8 and 2 is 10, I know, plus the 1 I carry, that makes 11. Put the 1, carry my 1. 4 plus 3 is 7, plus 1 more that we carried is 8, for 812. Excellent job today, guys. Tomorrow, you will have your multiplication test on your multiplying by fives. Remember to skip count by fives. If you can skip count, it helps you tremendously. So, and it's not time, so don't stress too much about the time. Just start really concentrating on making sure you're getting those answers correct. And then on Thursday, you'll have a written test over some of these things that we've covered, like bar graphs and mixed numbers and adding and subtracting and telling time. So extra practice if you need it, but I know you guys are going to do great. Have a great day.